Imagine the dark streets of the 17th century, studios ruled by men, a world where women were created only to remain silent. Yet within this world there is a strange story. The sound of brushes, the smell of oil paint, and a girl emerging from the shadows. Who was she? Where did she come from? What made her so different? Some say she was just an ordinary girl, discovered by chance in her father's studio. Others claim she was a genius with a dark secret, hiding her pain in colors. And some even hesitated to speak of her, because her brush sometimes revealed the truth far too brutally. Why are the women she painted so powerful? Why are they no longer victims in her works, but killers, leaders, avengers, heroes? Why does Judith kill Holofernes with such mercilessness? Is this merely a religious scene or a depiction of the artist's own darkness? Artemisia Gentileschi. Her name is spoken today with great admiration. But back then, how could a woman painter survive in that era? How did she fight? Why is half of her story shrouded in silence? Why did they try to erase her from art history? And most importantly, why did she never stay silent? She had a fate both unrepeatably strong and profoundly dark. Some called her a victim, others called her the voice of vengeance. But perhaps Artemisia was neither a victim nor the painter of a killer. Perhaps she was simply a woman who painted her own truth. Who knows? The shadows she created with her brush are still filled with unanswered questions. Fact 1. Where she came from. A dark city, a house full of art, and the first signs of destiny. Artemisia Gentileschi was born on July 8, 1593, in Rome, Italy, a city of art, intrigue, and hidden lives intertwined in a vast labyrinth. Rome. The streets echoed with the sound of caravels, and from the palaces came the whispers of painters. Behind every shadowed building, another story was hidden, and among those shadows, a girl was growing up. The future's most powerful female painter. Her family was no ordinary family. Her father, Orazio Gentileschi, was a renowned painter of the same era as Caravaggio. In Orazio's studio, the smell of paint lingered through the nights, and unfinished portraits whispered from the walls. For Artemisia, this studio was both a school and an arena prepared by fate. Her mother, Prudencia Montone, passed away when Artemisia was still a child. In a house filled with the noise of siblings and the absence of a mother's voice, the girl found only one refuge in a quiet corner. The brush. Perhaps it was this emptiness, this void, this silence that gave such depth to her art. Rome was dangerous at that time. Streets filled with thieves, studios full of rivalry, and palaces crawling with intrigue. Yet Artemisia found her path through all this chaos. While her father's other male students dominated the studio, Artemisia stood in the corner, observing every move. And then, she drew better than anyone else. But one question still hangs in the air. Where did Artemisia get this strength? This little girl growing up without a mother, trying to survive in a man's world. Why was she so unbelievably talented? Was it the work of fate, or the genius born from pain? Act 2. Her youth and education, a hidden rise in a world where doors were closed to women. Artemisia Gentileschi's youth was unlike that of any other girl. At that time, learning to paint was almost entirely forbidden for women. Academies, master workshops, and the famous studios that unlocked the secrets of color. All of these were reserved only for men. Girls were left with housework, sewing, and silence. But Artemisia became one of the first girls to break that rule. She could not enter an academy, but her academy was inside her home, her father's studio. Every line drawn, every shadow painted, every unfinished portrait was a lesson for her. Many historians say that Artemisia had limited literacy, since there were few schools for girls at the time, yet she could speak through her brush so powerfully. Words were unnecessary. Young Artemisia could not observe male models for hours. It was forbidden for women to enter such scenes, so she studied her own body, her hands, and her face in the mirror, learning from herself. Perhaps that is why the women in her paintings appear so real, natural, and profoundly human. She did not know women from the outside. She knew them from within. Her father, Orazio, recognized her talent early. But interestingly, many male students felt jealous, while some watched her rapid rise with quiet envy. By the age of 16 or 17, Artemisia was already able to compete with her father. Some art historians even say, sometimes Orazio would have Artemisia correct his own works. This was not ordinary talent. This was a fire that never burned out. But again, a question arises. How did this young girl become such a powerful artist despite all obstacles? Was it only her father's guidance? Or was it the result of a hidden talent, a hidden pain, and a hidden struggle? Fact 3. Her first masterpiece in the hidden birth of genius? A painting that silenced the world at 17. At just 17 years old, Artemisia created a work that still makes art historians bow in admiration. Today, she produced her first major masterpiece, Susanna and the Elders, 1610. This painting was more than just an artwork. It was a declaration of destiny from a young girl at that time. Painting such religious scenes required years of academy training, lessons with male masters, and studies of anatomy. Artemisia had none of that. No academy, no official teacher, no access to male-only model studies. Yet every stroke, every shadow, every detail in the painting was executed with such mastery that many contemporaries could not believe it. Did a girl really paint this? On the surface, the scene seems simple. Two elderly men harass a young woman, and she recoils in fear. But Artemisia painted this moment with such dramatic intensity that the fear in the woman's face, the tension in her shoulders, and the defensive instinct in her body felt so real. It was as if the painter herself had lived that moment. Some say this painting was the first whisper of a deep, unspoken story inside Artemisia, a feeling she could not yet articulate. Was she painting her own fears? Were the subtle shadows of future tragedy already beginning to appear? Or was she simply a genius who saw the world of women before anyone else? With this painting, Artemisia instantly captured the attention of all of Rome's art circles. A 17-year-old girl was challenging studios full of men. This was not just painting. This was raising the voice of women through color. But no one knew. Not long after this painting, a dark event would shake Artemisia's life. A fate-altering darkness, and a court trial that would etch her name into history like a sword. Fact 4. Judith's slaying. Holofernes, pain, revenge, and the power of art. In Artemisia Gentileschi's life, no painting was as dramatic and legendary as Judith slaying Holofernes. This work was not just a religious scene, it was a woman showing the world her pain, anger, and power. The painting was created between 1612 and 1613, when Artemisia was only 19 or 20 years old. Yet the tension, strength, and dynamic energy within the work are unlike what any young artist could normally achieve. The figure of Judith emerges directly from Artemisia herself. Fear, doubt, anger, and determination all interwoven. This is the complete opposite of all previous paintings that portrayed women as weak and passive. Here, Judith is a hero, an avenger, and merciless. Why is this painting so impactful? Because Artemisia personally infused every corner of the work with the trauma, violence, and injustice she had endured. The power of Judith, in her hands choking Holofernes, the determination in her face, every detail, reflects Artemisia's own story. Every element in the painting, Judith's hands, the angle of the knife, Holofernes' terrified expression, the blood-red tones, is a visual translation of Artemisia's psychological and emotional experience. Some say that here, Artemisia did not merely paint a biblical scene. She took revenge in art for the injustice done to her. But the impact is not only emotional. Technically, the painting is masterful. The contrast of colors amplifies the intensity. Light and shadow dramatically pit the female and male figures against each other. Perspective and dynamic composition make the scene feel alive and real. This work defined Artemisia's unique style. Female heroes who are powerful, emotional, and active. A woman's perspective showing the pain and truth of life. As a result, Judith slaying Holofernes is not just a painting, It is a manifestation of Artemisia Gentileschi's inner world, her pain, and her strength. She once again proved that a woman could be a great and relentless artist equal to men. Yet the question remains, where did Artemisia's strength come from? Could trauma have destroyed her, or did it forge her into one of the greatest female painters in history? Perhaps every pain, every blow found new life through her brush, and this painting is the clearest proof of that. Fact 5. Moving to Florence and entering the academy closed to women. By the time Artemisia Gentileschi was in Rome, she had begun to attract attention, but her rise had not yet fully begun. In the early 1620s, Artemisia moved to Florence, a move that marked a new chapter in her life and a step into a world that was largely closed to women. Florence was considered the center of art and science in Europe at that time. Palaces, wealthy bankers, and the patronage of the Medici family supported great artists. Yet for women, this world was almost entirely off limits. Academies were places where only men set foot, and women's entry was rare. But Artemisia managed it. Her talent and growing fame earned her a place at the Florentine Academy of Art, making her one of the first female painters ever admitted. This was not just a personal achievement, it was a symbolic proof that women could exist and thrive in the world of art. In Florence, Artemisia worked not only in the academy, but also on commissions from wealthy patrons. Palaces and opulent homes were filled with her paintings, and female figures like Judith and Susanna amazed viewers with their aesthetic and dramatic power. This period reflected a stage of maturity and emotional depth in her art. Artemisia's female figures were no longer just part of religious or classical scenes. They had become symbols of female strength, anger, and resistance. Yet the question remains, could a woman achieve such success in a male-dominated world? And how had she reconciled with her own destiny? The women Artemisia painted became the first voices of their kind in history, speaking through color and form. But this success did not come easily. Behind every achievement lay trauma, struggle, and personal pain. Fact 6. Artemisia Gentileschi and her faith. Belief, art, and female power. Artemisia Gentileschi was not only a great painter, she was also a woman of deep religious faith. In 17th century Italy, religion was at the center of everything. People built their lives, politics, and art around their beliefs. Artemisia was part of this world, but when she painted religious scenes, she did not use them merely for devotion or imitation. In her paintings, especially the female figures like Judith, Susanna, and Cleopatra, religious motifs and female power merged. For example, in Judith slaying Holofernes, we do not see only a biblical event. Here, divine justice and female strength come together. Artemisia believed that women too could play an active, powerful, and influential role in God's plan. In her religious works, such as depictions of the Virgin Mary and other holy women, she masterfully used light and shadow to convey purity and grandeur. This technique elevated her work to a level of both spiritual and artistic mastery. What is most fascinating is that Artemisia transformed religious stories, originally written from a male perspective, into a female viewpoint. She showed that women were not just passive victims. They could also symbolize justice, struggle, and vengeance. For Artemisia Gentileschi, religious faith was more than just a theme. Through religious motifs, she showed the power of women, highlighted justice and resistance against injustice, expressed her own trauma and life experiences through art. The question remains, how did Artemisia combine her faith with her power? Are the women she painted part of God's plan, or do they represent her personal expression of vengeance and strength? Fact 7. Influence across Europe. Artemisia's voice spread. Artemisia Gentileschi was recognized and respected not only in Italy, but also across Europe's major art centers. Her success, particularly in depicting female figures as strong, dramatic, and emotional, became a source of inspiration for other artists. In the 1620s, after Florence, Artemisia worked in major cities like Naples and London, creating paintings for wealthy patrons. Her depictions of Judith, Susanna, and other female figures had a profound impact both religiously and culturally. Some historians even describe her as the first feminist art icon because she portrayed women not as passive victims, but as powerful, active, and resilient. Her works became lessons for many young artists, showing that women could exist and be visible in the art world. Even male painters were influenced by her realistic female portraits and dramatic scenes, attempting to emulate her style in their own works. Artemisia's influence in Europe was not measured only by technique. She brought female power into art, transformed inner pain and trauma into visual expression, proved that women had a voice in a male-dominated era. Yet the question remains, could a female painter gain such influence in a man's world? And how did she carry the pain of her own life? Every brushstroke she made bore the mark of both art and her personal story. Fact 8. Artemisia Gentileschi's works, style, and artistic vision. Artemisia Gentileschi created approximately 60 to 70 artworks during her lifetime. Unfortunately, some have been lost over time, and others were mistakenly attributed to different artists. Her works mainly depict religious scenes, historical events, and dramatic portraits of female heroes. Her most famous paintings include Judith slaying Holofernes, Susanna and the Elders, Cleopatra before death, and Saint Catherine. Artemisia's style reflects not only the dramatic nature of the Baroque period, but also her personal, emotional world. Several defining characteristics stand out in her work: dramatic light and shadow, chiaroscuro. Artemisia shows the influence of Caravaggio, but uniquely, light is not only used to illuminate the scene, it emphasizes the strength and emotions of her female figures, movement and dynamism. Her female figures are never static, they are caught in motion. Judith slaying Holofernes, Susanna recoiling in fear, Cleopatra in her final dramatic moments, all merge drama with realism, psychological realism. Artemisia portrays not just the body, but the inner world of women. Facial expressions, the positioning of hands, the tension in the body, every detail conveys fear, anger, and willpower, female perspective. In her art, women are never passive victims. Artemisia's female figures are powerful, determined, and impactful, a revolutionary approach for her time, color and texture. Working in oil, she used colors for both emotional and dramatic purposes. Red, black, and white intensify tension, and textures make every detail strikingly realistic. Artemisia Gentileschi's art was unique, both technically and emotionally. Her paintings are not merely visually stunning. Each brushstroke is a visual expression of her life, pain, and strength. Today, Artemisia is celebrated as a symbol of feminist art history. Her style not only reflects the Baroque era, but also demonstrates how women can raise their voices in the worlds of art and power. Fact 9. Artemisia Gentileschi's personal life and love stories. Artemisia Gentileschi was not only a strong and dramatic painter, but also a woman who struggled with love, family, and personal relationships throughout her life. Her personal life often remained in the shadows, yet it played a crucial role in shaping her art and destiny. The trauma and court case she experienced at a young age deeply influenced her understanding of trust and love. At just 17 to 18 years old, this event made her cautious and careful with people. Yet it did not close her heart to love entirely. In the 1620s, Artemisia moved to Florence, where she formed close relationships with powerful patrons, wealthy families, and other artists. Historians note that she had several romantic relationships there, but her art and independence were always her priority. Love for Artemisia was also a source of creativity and inspiration. Sometimes her relationships with close friends and patrons added emotional depth to her paintings. Regarding marriage, Artemisia was cautious. She married Pier Antonio Stiatesi in 1612, a union that supported her work in Florence. But her marriage was far from simple. Her artistic career remained her priority, giving her freedom and autonomy. Her married life was not just domestic routine. She sought a balance between home and studio, carving a path few women of her time could. Although Artemisia's personal life was filled with trauma and struggle, she found her place through love, friendship, and art, which further strengthened her. She was not only a painter, but also the heroine of her own life. Questions remain. How did Artemisia preserve her strength in love and personal relationships? How did her heart balance trauma, art, and love? Fact 10. Death and legacy. Her voice could not be silenced. Artemisia Gentileschi spent her final years in Naples, Italy. She is believed to have died around 1653, at the age of 59 to 60, though the exact date is uncertain. Some sources suggest she lived until 1656. Her death appeared as a quiet ending to a dramatic and resilient life, yet her voice and influence never faded. Throughout her life, Artemisia faced violence, a courtroom battle, and the challenges of a male-dominated art world, while collaborating with patrons like the Medici family. These experiences made her not just a painter, but a symbol of female power and independence. Her death did not end her story. Instead, her works in life became a source of inspiration for women artists defending their place in the art world. Her paintings, including Judith and Susanna, remain examples of character, willpower, and resilience in history. Artemisia's art reflects not only the dramatic style of the Baroque era, but also the inner strength of women and the voices often silenced. Over 400 years later, Artemisia Gentileschi has become an icon of feminist art history. Modern researchers, exhibitions, and art lovers continue to rediscover her works and recognize women's place in art. Her life and art demonstrated that pain, trauma, and struggle can transform into power, immortalized through art. The question remains, are the female figures painted by Artemisia merely art, or do they carry her life story, struggle, and voice? Her death may have taken her physically from the world, but her voice and influence live eternally through her works in history. If you love powerful and inspiring stories like this, subscribe to our channel and keep discovering the life stories of great women like Artemisia. Don't miss out on rich history, dramatic tales, and hidden art secrets.